as of 27th June, more than 112,000 students between the ages of 12 and 15 in Singapore have been given the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
We know that vaccination is voluntary. The question is, will you get your child vaccinated against COVID-19? I've got a 15-year-old daughter. In fact, I'm just in the midst of registering her to be vaccinated. I've gone online, done my research, and I feel pretty safe letting her do it. But I know many other parents may not feel the same way. So in this episode of Talking Point, I want to find out everything there is about kids and the COVID-19 vaccine. Just how safe is it for them? And what will it mean once they're inoculated?
A week after booking an appointment for the vaccination, it's a day of my daughter Lucy's first jab.
So we're just heading out now to get your vaccination. How do you feel about that?
I feel a bit nervous because I don't know what to expect. And some of my friends have told me that the symptoms are like fever and headache and so on. So I don't really want to get that. Plus, I'm afraid of needles, so that's great.
You're gonna have to go in on your own. So
Yeah.
when you're done, you give me a call, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Inside the centre, Lucy goes through the exact same procedure as I went through when I took my jab. She's asked to declare any known allergies and whether she's on certain medications. As an added precaution for teens, her weight is also taken. Once she's cleared,
Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Don't worry, okay? It will be over in a second.
Okay.
Lucy is getting the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the only one approved so far for those between the ages of 12 and 17.
Okay. If I close my eyes, is it better?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, all done. Very good, okay? All done. Don't worry, okay? It was painful, is it?
Yeah.
No vigorous exercise for a week.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Ow. I can feel it go in.
After a 30-minute wait to observe any immediate side effects, Lucy is given the all clear.
Hello. Yeah? Come on, I'll go buy you an ice cream.
Okay.
So I'm glad Lucy can get her vaccination. It puts me more at ease as a parent. But from what I hear, the COVID-19 infection isn't as severe for kids who get it. So I'm wondering if they really need to be vaccinated at all.
I'm hoping to get some answers from Dr. Chan Si-min, who has been treating children with COVID-19 since the outbreak began here early last year.
In Singapore, we have been very fortunate that no children have been requiring intensive care. What we know is that they seem to have more asymptomatic infection compared to adults, but there are some pockets of children who are at higher risk of having more severe disease. So for example, young infants who are less than 1 year old, the teenagers who are more than 12 years old, or children who have underlying medical conditions. One other reason for children to be vaccinated is if you want your children to get back to some kind of normalcy, especially for school life, for children to congregate in classrooms, in tuition centers, in sports, then it would be good to have them vaccinated.
So you mentioned that children seem to be quite asymptomatic. A lot of them may be carrying the virus but still seem perfectly healthy. So what then would you consider a severe case for a child who is infected?
Children who have severe infection have a very similar illness to what adults do. Children are also at risk of another syndrome which is related to COVID infection. So this is something called MIS-C. This tends to happen in children who have already had COVID infection. They've recovered from it, and 1 to 2 months later, they develop this syndrome of high inflammation in many parts of their body. And the children who have this syndrome, more than half of them end up in intensive care and about 2% of them will die from the syndrome.
Wow.
Yes, so that's related to having had a COVID infection.
So they had the infection, they recovered, and a few months later, they get sick again.
That's right, and more sick this time.
And more sick.
Yeah, so they may be asymptomatic for the original infection and quite well with it, but 2 months down the road,
Wow.
they may then get this other more severe syndrome.
How often does this happen?
So globally, it tends to happen in about 1 in every 1,000 children who have COVID-19
That's
infection.
quite high.
Singapore and Southeast Asia, we've been very fortunate that we haven't really seen this syndrome yet, but that's obviously something that we're on the watch out for if more children develop COVID infection.
Which is all the more reason for the kids to get vaccinated,
And
I guess.
not to get infection, that's right.
To me, getting my child vaccinated seems like a no-brainer, but according to a Snap poll I put out recently, out of the 300 who responded, 1 in 5 said no to vaccinating their children.
Many vaccine-hesitant parents I spoke to declined to appear on camera, but we managed to find one who said yes. Shahira, mother of a 13-year-old girl. She is joined today by 2 other parents who have had their kids vaccinated.
I'm still thinking because I'm a bit scared of the side effects. Because my eldest daughter, she tends to get sick very easily. So I'm quite worried whether the vaccine, if she were to take it, she will have any worse side effects.
Right.
And I did came across a report about heart inflammation that children get from the vaccine.
I have 3 girls. My initial question was, if the vaccine can be used on children, why did they say, the vaccine is only for grown-ups? And a few months later, they say, kids can take it too. And then when you talk about side effects for the kids, how serious are they? But I thought about it hard and I figured, yes, there might be long-term effects, but what long-term effects, nobody can tell me. That's unknown, right? So, but what is known to me is if my kids get COVID-19, their health will be greatly compromised. And that is not a chance that I want to take.
Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, my kids are all vaccinated. Initially, I was a bit apprehensive, but after reading the reports and thinking of all the good effects instead of the side effects.
What do you mean by the good effects?
Which is, once you're vaccinated, even if you have it, you probably won't fall so sick. To me, it's added protection.
Some of my friends, they said, why must you take this vaccine? Is that kids, they have their own body system to fight the virus.
Yeah.
And furthermore, they never hear any cases whereby children who got COVID-19, they have severe symptoms.
The health ministry, I guess, they're the best person to actually allow this vaccination to take place in the first place. So you just listen to what they say.
Is that enough to convince you?
No.
No?
Maybe if the government were to give us more info or more data, then I would be assured.
So you want more information?
Yes, correct.
Whether more children have had side effects, what affected them, more details as to exactly what happened?
Yes, correct.
I must admit that when I got the call to register Lucy for the vaccine, I did not hesitate. But having heard from these parents, I can understand why there might be some concerns. And I need to find the answers to some of their questions.
But first, let's check in with Lucy.
Hey Lucy, how are you feeling this morning?
Feel good. I have no headache or no arm pain or nausea.
Not even a sore arm?
Yeah, no.
It'll be another 6 weeks before my daughter Lucy gets her second jab. But over in the US, millions of children under the age of 18 are already fully vaccinated. I'm about to find out what life is like for them after being inoculated.
It'll be nice now, just getting to hug them again.
I have heard concerns about the side effects the COVID-19 vaccine may have on our children, and I want to know how bad it can get. So I've arranged to meet Associate Professor Toon Ko Cheng. He's done research on adverse effects following immunization.
There is concern because this vaccine came about so quickly. Traditional vaccines take years, but we know this one for the COVID came out within a year. So many parents are saying it's too rushed out, it's not safe, it's too new, we have no data on the long-term effects.
Well, the mRNA vaccine
Essentially, it is like a instruction booklet for a Lego building. Coding instructions are injected into the body. The available evidence suggests that the instructions don't enter the nucleus. They don't change our DNA. They're also rapidly destroyed by our enzymes, and then they are then discarded. So within that time frame, it is very unlikely that we would see long-term side effects arising from these coding instructions in the vast majority of children who are vaccinated. Certainly, there is always a concern whenever anything new is introduced to our growing children. But the technology behind the mRNA itself has been around for decades. We have used it in many other conditions, such as in cancer. Given those experiences and also the trials that were done, it has been deemed to be reasonably safe with the side effect ratios within acceptable limits.
We've heard of recent reports about inflammation in the heart among certain teenagers. In fact, in the UK, they have not started their vaccination for children and are uncertain whether they'll move forward. How would you respond to that?
In the Ministry of Health and Health Sciences Authority, they have reviewed the data overseas, and the reported rates so far are 1.6 per 100,000 adolescents vaccinated. Locally, we have also been carefully evaluating the presence of these signals of heart inflammation in our young adults and adolescents, and there have been some signals, but they are also very, very small. Most of the reports have mentioned that these individuals have recovered without any long-term side effects, and they're still on follow-up. I guess that is reassurance that even if we do detect a signal, we will also pause and take stock and say whether or not these are important enough for us to change direction.
While COVID-19 vaccinations for children in Singapore are underway, more than 2.5 million teens in the US have already gotten their first dose. 12-year-old Lawson Massey and his 14-year-old brother Sawyer from Maryland were one of the first to get vaccinated when US regulators approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for 12 to 15-year-olds in early May. It's been 4 days since Sawyer and Lawson had their second vaccination jab. I want to know if the side effects are worse after jab 2. So, I'm going to check in with the boys and their parents.
Hi guys, I heard you've had both your jabs already, but can you tell me what it was like?
The first one, it was not bad at all. I had no side effects.
Okay. The second jab, they say, usually has a bit more of a side effect. Did you feel lousy after the second jab?
I did not. Right after both my shots, I went and played baseball with my friends. We didn't have anything that affected us from doing normal life.
Jim and Emily, were you a bit apprehensive when you first heard about the vaccinations being available for the boys?
We were counting down until the vaccinations could be available for the boys, but we did that watching really carefully what the data was. Every time that we see the headlines showing 95+% efficacy, it really was, these guys were watching the news headlines too and saying, when is it our turn? And so by the time it was their turn, we were really comfortable with what the data was and ready to sign them up almost the minute we could.
We as a family believe in the science and the remarkable aspects of medicine. The only thing we struggled with was, as parents, we got ours about a month and a half ahead, having a bit of a guilt that we were being protected before our most vulnerable and most precious children were.
So what will you be able to do now that you've had the vaccination?
About a year ago, we went to see our great-grandma, but because of COVID, we weren't allowed inside. So we had to call her from outside of her window and hold up signs saying, we love you. And a year later, now we're actually able to go back in and see her.
The first thing we did was book some plane tickets. We're going to get to go see grandparents again, and it'll be nice just getting to hug them again.
It's a semblance of normality that Sawyer and Lawson can look forward to once fully vaccinated.
When schools reopen, students like my daughter will be returning only partially vaccinated. I want to know how safe is it for them to do that. So I'm going to get some answers from the man in charge.
Hi everyone.
schools reopened a few days ago and safe management measures are still in place. But it's been more than a year with these measures. So I wonder what the kids miss most about school life from before the pandemic.
I'm about to find out.
Welcome. Okay,
I've invited 3 students for a conversation with none other than
Hi everyone.
Hello, hi Minister, thanks for joining us.
the Education Minister himself.
So kids, maybe you start off. What do you guys miss most about school life before COVID? I know you prepared some drawings. Can you tell me what you drew?
I miss traveling. By right, last year I was supposed to go to Malaysia with my friends, but unfortunately we didn't get to do that because of COVID-19.
I miss concert band in my school. It just shows my bandmate. They're all still contributing to this big line of music, but it's very spread out.
I miss choir the most because sometimes there were day camps. I also miss my conductor.
When was the last time you had your choir practice?
Before they announced the heightened alert.
So, Minister, school life has changed so much for our kids ever since the pandemic started. How do you think we can make up for it for these kids?
Well, I'm not sure you can make it up by having everything the same. Things will be quite different. But there's also opportunities for new experiences to be acquired. I think they have highlighted one very important point, and that is school is not just about the acquisition of knowledge.
Right.
School is also an environment where they grow up together. So that kind of social bonding, the time with friends, I think those are things which we want to make sure that we allow our children to have as much as possible, even during the COVID situation.
Of the 3 here, I mean, Marlene has had her first jab. The other 2 are too young. Is it then safe for kids to be returning to school? Because most of them in the primary school, well, they're all not vaccinated.
For the cohorts that can be vaccinated, we hope that more of them will be vaccinated as soon as possible. For the rest of the younger cohorts, like Connor, then we will have to apply the rest of the safe management measures.
Many parents are still kind of on the fence, a bit undecided about vaccination. What would you tell them?
And of course, we understand that some parents might have some concerns, whether there'll be any side effects in the short term, whether there'll be any side effects over the long term. As a parent, what I would usually encourage other parents to think about is this. In the short term, if we are vaccinated, the chances of us getting seriously ill and requiring intensive care is much reduced. So the risk of any possible side effect is far outweighed by the benefits of keeping ourselves safe.
The thing is that if everyone in school is vaccinated, then will we get to remove our masks?
There's one of the possibility that the scientists are studying, especially in an open air environment, that is perhaps less risky compared to, say, in a closed environment where the virus might circulate a bit more. One of the first steps that we might take might be that in an open air environment, we can take off our mask. So we look forward to that.
A lot of us in my school, we're hoping maybe if once COVID loosens up, whether the measures will loosen again or...
Indeed, if more people get vaccinated and if the science allows us to do this, we want you to get back to the small groups where you can collaborate with one another. But we definitely want to keep an open mind. But at the same time, we must make sure that we are able to adopt a whole suite of different measures according to the different mutations that might happen. Now we are a bit like in a war, you see. Every time the good guys, that's us, try to up our defenses, the bad guys will try to find ways to get around the defenses. So we must never let our guard down.
Will we have to be vaccinated in order to have playtime during recess?
Like what Mali was saying, that if we are all vaccinated, that will give us greater confidence for us to interact during playtime, during recess, or during other lessons that are conducted in the open air.
Some parents are also saying they feel pressured to get their kids vaccinated.
I wouldn't say that we're going to pressurize anybody. I think the first thing we want to tell all the parents is that regardless whether your children have been vaccinated or not, we must take care of all our children together. Some children may not be able to get vaccinated because they have other medical conditions, so we fully understand that. But to the extent that the children can be vaccinated, of course, we hope that parents will get the necessary information to make an informed decision to either vaccinate or not vaccinate their children.
Some parents also saying that I don't have enough information on how it's affected our children. For example, in the UK, they've got a yellow card scheme where people report adverse reactions to the vaccines. Other countries also publish weekly summaries on these reports. So can there be more information available to the public?
I think that is being shared by the MOH as an overall for the entire population. I would say that from what I have seen, the numbers for the entire population and the numbers for the children in terms of potential side effects are not very different.
It's just that numbers may tell us one thing, but when it's your own child, it doesn't matter that it was 0.001%, it's still your child.
As a parent, I fully understand that when we rolled out the vaccination program, we want to make sure that all our parents have the best information available for them to make the decision. Now, that's only the first step. The second step is to make sure that as the children go through the vaccination program, whatever help, whatever information they need, they will get it to assure the children and their families as well. So this is what we will continue doing for the second dose in a couple of weeks' time.
Will kids like me ever get vaccinated?
Well, I hope so, because I hope the scientists will be able to let us know soon whether the vaccine can be used for younger children of your age group. Are you looking forward to it?
Yes.
Will you go for your vaccination when it's offered to you?
Yeah.
She's a brave girl.
Yeah, she is.
When do you think safe management measures would be lifted a bit more?
We must never let our guard down. Even as we are combating what they call the most dangerous variant now, the Delta variant, there are already information coming up that it continues to mutate and there might be other variants. So I don't think we will be able to get rid of all the safe management measures, but we may be able to adjust as we go along based on our vaccination rate and based on the variants of concern.
So is the COVID-19 vaccination safe for our children? Well, what I've learned is that though the long-term effects may still be unclear at this point, for me, the benefits of the vaccination far outweigh the risk of my child being severely infected by COVID-19. And I guess we should also all consider the possible ways we can loosen restrictions if more of us get vaccinated. I think that's one way we can give our kids back their childhood.